guys, welcome to a new video. My name is Annie if you are new here, and I am a South African local flight attendant, and I have been so excited to do today's video. First and foremost, I've always wanted to collaborate with Traveling Black Marie. As you guys would know her, she has recently changed the name of her channel to African Marie, but I've always wanted to do a collab with her, and ever since she resigned from Emirates and moved back to South Africa, I was hoping we could do a collab together, but lockdown. So instead, I decided to bring you guys a virtual collaboration between myself and Marie. So get excited. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the differences between being a flight attendant for an international airline and being a flight attendant for a local airline in South Africa. The way that we're going to do it is we're going to each discuss 3 pros and 3 cons of the respective types of flight attendants, basically. So Marie is going to give us 3 pros and 3 cons of being an international flight attendant, and I'm going to give you guys 3 pros and 3 cons of being a local flight attendant. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. I've been so excited to do it, and let's get right into it. Let's hear what her first pro of being an international flight attendant is.
So pro number 1, definitely the money. When you are working as an international flight attendant, you are going to get a lot more money than you would be if you're working for a local airline or domestic airline. So even as an entry-level international flight attendant, I believe you earn slightly more than a purser would be earning in a local airline or domestic airline. So there's definitely that. And bear in mind, tied into the whole financial aspect, you also have a lot of benefits that are tied to that. So you never have to worry about utilities. So electricity is paid for, water is paid for. When you go on your layovers, there's definitely a good meal allowance depending on where you are. So definitely financially, you are definitely going to do a lot better as an international flight attendant versus a domestic airline flight attendant.
Okay, I have seen her Emirates salary video, and if you haven't seen it, I'll put it in the cards above. They definitely make more money than us. My first pro of being a local flight attendant is the fact that you're home every night. This is an opinion that is obviously subjective. I know some people don't really care about that, but for me it's a big deal. I really enjoy being home every night, and I know that it's important for people with children to be able to be home every night. It's easier to maintain relationships. It's cool because you can sustain kind of a somewhat normal lifestyle. The term normal being used very loosely. It's not easy, but it is definitely possible to ensure that you attend certain events. If you get your roster in time, if you're able to swap out in time, then it's possible, I would say, to be able to make sure that you are there for your kid's birthday or there for a wedding. And that's something I really enjoy about being a local flight attendant. Marie, what is your second pro of being an international flight attendant?
So pro number 2, if you are trying to cover as many miles as possible, as many square kilometers of the world as possible, you definitely are wanting to be an international flight attendant, because on your roster, depending on the month, of course, you can get anything between like 4, 5, 6 countries, 6 different countries on one roster. So you're definitely going to be able to tick as many boxes as possible. So if you're joining specifically for the travel aspect, because a lot of people do that, like I joined for the travel aspect. So if you're doing that specifically, you are definitely going to get a lot more travel in general, travel experience. Whereas if you're working for a domestic airline, I would imagine that you're just working within the country, obviously, or like a regional one, and then you can, I suppose, travel on your downtime or whatever it is, but as an international flight attendant, you are doing that practically every day, every week, every month. So kudos.
My second pro is the fact that it is possible to get to know your colleagues when you fly local. So for each base in my company, there's easily like maybe 80 to 100 flight attendants in my base specifically, so it's nice because I get to know each person. So each month it's really possible for me to fly with the same pilots or the same senior numerous times throughout that month. There's a huge possibility of me flying with the same crew multiple times throughout the month, and that's something that's really cool because you get to know them. You know, you get to know their personality, you get to know what kind of joker they are, you get to know what their preferences are and their work styles, which is really nice because then it takes that added stress out from each workday. You know who you're flying with, you're familiar with who you fly with, so it's just a little bit easier to get through the day if you're familiar with your crew already. And it's also nice because you end up actually making friends. In my mind, I feel like working for a huge international airline makes it a bit difficult to make friends other than maybe your roommate or something like that. But for us, you get to fly so much. We generally all live in the same area, so it's kind of easy. If you know you're gonna have the same days off, you can be like, hey, let's hang out, come to a braai, you know, do this, do that. So that's something I really enjoy because you actually get to make friends at work.
Right, so the third thing, and I absolutely love this about Middle Eastern Airlines, is that everything is done for you. You practically have to take yourself, your 30-50 kgs of stuff, and you take yourself and you get there. Everything is done for you, from immigration to, you know, transport, to your accommodation, which is fitted with basic necessities. They give you an allowance within the week that you're there, and the training. And I think this is a very important thing to speak to, because I know with domestic regional airlines, a lot of them require you to either pay for the training or to already have a qualification. So with Middle Eastern Airlines, specifically Emirates, you do not need any kind of pre-stuff. So you do not have to have a qualification, you do not have to know anything about aviation, you just have to have an interest, and obviously you just be there. They take you through everything. If you leave between before the probation period or the 1 year, then you obviously have to pay stuff back because they've obviously invested in you. But if you stay, then you practically never pay for the skills that they give you. So that's pretty good.
My third pro of being a local flight attendant is the fact that I don't experience jet lag. That is such a huge deal to me, that I don't experience jet lag. Don't get me wrong, I still get incredibly exhausted. We still have incredibly long days that we have to operate. We still have to do multiple flights a day, really early sign-ons, 6 days flying in a row, doing 4 legs every single day. Really long days and super quick turnarounds, so not much of a break in between, but no jet lag. Okay, so all of Marie's pros sound super interesting and very convincing and kind of make me want to be an international flight attendant. But now let's quickly hear about what her cons are of being an international flight attendant.
Alright, so con number 1 is that there's not much flexibility. I don't know why there is this misconception, but a lot of people do believe that when you're a flight attendant, it's flexible. But as an international flight attendant, you are not going to have a very flexible schedule. You can certainly apply for leave and all of that kind of stuff, but bear in mind that, for example, with a company like Emirates, there's 20,000 crew. So everybody has to have a chance during that calendar year to get, you know, some sort of leave time. So you're not gonna get leave when you want it. It's not always gonna work out like that. If you're really lucky, you may. So that also speaks to or ties into other things, like you're going to miss a lot of holidays, you're going to miss important events. You're not going to be there for Christmas, you're not going to be there for birthdays, you're probably going to be flying on your own birthday too. And then speaking to the events, like there's specific things that are very important to human beings that you're going to miss. So you're going to miss funerals sometimes because you're flying somewhere and you just can't get home. You know, like obviously with close family, they take that into consideration, so you can fly home. But with your friends, those are not necessarily people that they consider important enough to actually give you some time off for that. Birthdays, weddings, you're gonna struggle sometimes. I know people who really have had a hard time just trying to get the day off for their own wedding. So, bear that in mind when you apply to become a international flight attendant, that you are going to miss a lot of stuff that might be important to you.
My first con of being a local flight attendant is the license. Just having to go through the whole ab initio process of paying for a license, just the cost and the time that you have to put into that. And also just the fact that there is no guarantee of a job after investing all of that time and money into it is just, it's overwhelming to a degree, I guess. It's a lot of money to put into something that does not guarantee that you'll be employed at the end of it, A lot of the times the amount of people with licenses heavily outnumbers the amount of available jobs, so there's always more people who are qualified flight attendants who are unemployed qualified flight attendants compared to the amount of positions available for them.
Alright, so con number 2 is definitely the fact that it takes a toll on your body. So you're flying across time zones. You could be in Australia today, and then next week you are in the US. These are places that are on polar opposites of the world. So your body, like the human body, is not meant to travel like that. And because you are traveling through time zones, your body is going to take a bashing. It's going to be particularly hard on your body, versus if you're working for a domestic or regional airline where you just fly 2, 3, 4 hours every day. Sometimes the flight attendant in an international space, you are flying 16 hours, and this is just the flight. You don't consider the time that you've been up and the time that it's going to take you to get to the hotel. So by the time you actually finish with the working day, 24, 25, 26 hours is already elapsed, and the human body is just not equipped for that kind of stuff. So you really are pushing against nature. So sometimes people get very sick very quickly, and some people can fly for 25 years, but some people don't fly that long because they get sick. So that's definitely something to bear in mind, and you're also exposing yourself to certain things. So for example, like cancer, because of radiation, a lot of flight attendants end up with cancer. I mean, obviously some people are predisposed to cancer anyway, but just bear in mind that you are exposing yourself to those kind of things because you are in a tube and there's a lot of radiation and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not necessarily the best job for your health. So yeah.
My second con of being a local flight attendant is that we don't get a lot of time to travel and actually explore the destinations we fly to. We pretty much only fly turns where we wake up in the morning in whatever base you're in, you fly to a particular destination, you turn right around and come right back. So you're home every night. And yes, I know earlier I said that it's nice to be home every night, but it does kind of suck to not be able to have that time in each destination. I've told you guys I've flown to Cape Town before, like easily 100 times I've flown to Cape Town, but can I tell you where to eat when you get to Cape Town? No. Can I tell you the greatest tourist hotspots when you get to Cape Town? No. Can I tell you what the awesome hotspots in Cape Town are? Absolutely not, because I've never gotten a chance to actually get off the plane and really enjoy a couple of days in Cape Town. Generally, we'd have to take a few days off, or when we do have maybe a 3-day weekend or something, we take that time, jump seat, and then explore the place that we want to go to. But usually we're just so exhausted from flying during that week that you don't even want to actually put in that time and travel somewhere. So that's something that I know personally I need to make a conscious effort to do more of once everything kind of goes back to normal. But yeah, that's just one of the things that kind of sucks, is that you don't really get a chance to really explore or be a tourist in all of these cool destinations that we fly to.
Alright, so the third and final con is the fact that the skills are not necessarily transferable. So if you are wanting to be a flight attendant for the rest of your life, then that's great. So you can use the skills that you gain from one airline into the next airline. But if you are someone who's doing that job for an interim or like a gap year, then it's not necessarily something that people want to see on your CV, because it just doesn't mean anything to them. You know, people don't understand that as a flight attendant, you have a lot of skills. Like, you're working with customers every day, you're working with customers from different backgrounds and nationalities. But they're not necessarily going to consider that, right? They're just going to see you as a flight attendant because that's pretty much the impression that people have. Like, you're just a chicken and beef server who's a little bit good looking, and they see you at the airport, but they don't really take you that seriously. So they're not necessarily wanting to see that on your CV. Of course, you can put it on your CV, and maybe someone who understands or has been a flight attendant before is going to be like, wow, this person has great skills. But an ordinary person, a layman, is not going to understand that. So the skills that you gain, your qualifications as such during that, I don't know, 4 or 5 years that you're working there, are not necessarily going to look good on your CV as such. So yeah.
I definitely agree with her that skills aren't transferable. I think it's the same here in South Africa. If you're a local flight attendant, you might be flying for years, you might be a senior, you might be an instructor and all that, but if you want to move into a different career path, if you want to move into a different sector altogether, all the experience you have as a flight attendant really might not make a difference into you being a good candidate for that job. I don't think they really think of it that bad unless you're still in the hospitality or tourism sector. Then they pretty much don't really value all the skills that you have as a flight attendant. Moving on to my third con of being a local flight attendant. My final con is the salary. Marie's already mentioned it, that they definitely make a lot more than us. What sucks is that not only do we get less of a salary, but we also still have to pay our own bills. With the salary that we get, the little salary that we get, we still have to pay for rent. We still have to pay for our own medical aid. If you have a car installment to pay, you still have to pay that. Car insurance. Your cell phone contract, if that's what you pay for, you still have to pay for all of that stuff. Your Wi-Fi in your house, you know, stuff like that are still on you, on top of getting much less of a salary than international flight attendants. At Emirates, obviously they get their salary, but then on top of that, their accommodation is taken care of, their transport is taken care of, and all that stuff, but we still have everyday bills to pay. Yeah, our airlines don't cover our accommodation costs or our day-to-day costs and stuff like that, so that's definitely something to think about. Okay guys, at the end of the day, it's completely up to you what route you want to take, whether you want to become an international flight attendant or a local flight attendant. Obviously, certain factors go into which path you decide to go. Ultimately, it is up to you which way you want to go. I feel like being an international flight attendant is much more exciting. Much more exciting. If I had joined this industry 5 years ago, I definitely would have gone for the international flight attendant route. And I mean, if you want to go for it, go for it. Honestly, I just hope that this video helped you guys see the differences, and I really hope you guys found value in this video. I really just wanted to show you guys that there are perks no matter which way you decide to go. If you guys would like me to do a video comparing being a charter flight attendant versus a commercial airline flight attendant in the future, let me know in the comments below and I will definitely do that for you guys. I will be linking African Marie's channel in the description box below, so please go check that out. She has so much information on her channel about being an Emirates flight attendant, so if you guys want to go the international route, or if you're just interested to see her life and all of her travels, go ahead and check her out. Please give this video a massive thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. Thank you guys again so much for watching this video. Don't forget to spread good vibes and be kind, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys!